Welcome to the MOAC Lesson 4 tutorial. This tutorial covers indents, paragraph line spacing, spacing before and after paragraphs, paragraph alignment, and page alignment. As we get started, let's make sure that our rulers are visible in our document. If your ruler is not visible above and to the left of your document, go to the View tab and make sure the ruler button is checked. Alternately, you can go to the vertical scroll bar to the right of the screen, and above it you can click the View Ruler button. That allows you to turn your rulers off or to turn them on. Let's get started by adding some random text. Key the equal sign, R-A-N-D, and it doesn't have to be capitalized. Open parentheses, and let's do 7 paragraphs. So type a 7, comma, and then 5 sentences per paragraph, so type a 5, and then close parentheses and press enter. Now you see 7 paragraphs of randomly generated text in your document. Let's go ahead and save our document before we get started. That way later we can easily save the document. Let's go to the File tab. And also, saving the document up front allows you to put the correct footer with the path and file name, and it'll show up correctly the first time you do it. So let's go to File, Save As. Let's browse to our Documents drive, and then go to your Word Lesson 3 and 4 folder. And I have things in here. Let's name this one Lesson 4. Oh, let me turn my caps lock off. Lesson 4. Practice Project 1 and your name. So Lesson 4, Practice Project 1, and your name. And then go ahead and click Save. Once saving the document, let's begin our lesson by looking at different ways to indent text. Indent simply means to move the text away from the margin. And you can move text away from the left margin or from the right margin. We're already familiar with first line indents with paragraphs. Many times you see the first line of a paragraph indented. And the common way of doing that is to click in front of the paragraph and press the Tab key. Notice when you do that, by default, the Word program assumes that you are trying to do a first line indent on a paragraph. And if you look at your ruler, your markers here have changed. On the ruler, you have 3 markers on the left margin and 1 on the right margin. The 3 markers on the left margin are, the top one is first line indent, the second one there is the hanging indent, and then the square one below the ruler is the left indent. So go ahead and click in the second paragraph, and let's set a first line indent for it. In addition to hitting Tab, you can also set a first line indent by moving the marker on the ruler. So click anywhere in this second paragraph, go to your ruler and click the top first line indent marker and drag it over to the ½ inch mark. And you see that you have added a first line indent. The third way to enter a first line indent is to go to the paragraph dialog box, and you can go there on the Home tab or the Page Layout tab. Let's do it on the Home tab. Go to Home, click the paragraph box, the paragraph dialog box launcher, and you get the paragraph dialog box. The first, on the Indents and Spacing tab, the first section you see is where you can change alignment, and you can change level of text, and that'll make more sense to us in a later chapter. The middle section is the indentation section, and then the last section is the spacing section. In the indentation section, we can set a special indent, a first line indent. Click on Special, and then click on First Line, and we can tell it how far to indent. By default, it's at a 1/2 inch. Let's just change it to 1/4 of an inch. Type 0.25 in there and click OK. And you see you have a first line indent as well. And look at the position of the marker on your ruler. So 3 different ways to create a first line indent in our text. The next kind of indent that we will look at is the hanging indent. The hanging indent leaves the first line of text at the left margin and indents all of the remaining lines. And let's take a look at it. And just like the first line indent, you have all 3 options for creating the indent. We're going to work mainly with the ruler because I find that to be the fastest way to enter your indents. So let's select 2 paragraphs. We can change the spacing of multiple paragraphs or the indentations of multiple paragraphs at the same time. So let's format the next 2 paragraphs, and let's mouse over our ruler until you see the hanging indent screen tip. Then you know that you are moused over the correct hanging indent marker. Click and drag the hanging indent marker a 1/2 inch over. The standard default or the standard indent is usually at a 1/2 inch, but sometimes you may want to set it smaller or larger. Notice the hanging indent. First line is at the left margin and all other lines hang inside the margin. They're moved over. Now, you're not typically going to use a hanging indent with paragraphs of text. The most common use that we will use a hanging indent for in this class will be for a works cited page when we do our reports and report formatting. The next type of indent that we're going to look at is the left indent. Click anywhere in the next paragraph and go to the indent marker and mouse over the left indent, the square one below the ruler. And a left indent moves all lines of the text over. Click and drag it over to the 1 inch mark on the ruler and let go. There we go. And now we have set 3 different kinds of indents. Let's go ahead and in this same paragraph, let's set a right indent. Let's move this one over to the 5.5 inch mark on the ruler. Now we have applied a left indent and a right indent to this text. In an MLA style report, usually long quotes are indented 1 inch from the left margin. In other reports, the formatting requires that the long quotes be moved in 1 inch on both the left and the right margin. So whatever type of report you're formatting and writing, you need to make sure you follow the formatting guides for those types of reports. A very quick way to set a left indent is to use the Increase Indent button in the paragraph group on the Home tab. The Increase Indent button has some lines on it and it's pointing to the right, saying you're going to move text to the right away from the left margin. And the Decrease Indent button points back towards the left margin. Let's click make sure we're anywhere in the last paragraph, and let's click the Increase Indent button. Notice as you do this, your ruler. See how your indent marker skips to the ½ inch mark? By default, the left indent marker will move a ½ inch at a time each time you press the Increase Indent button. If you press it about 4 times, you see it moves over to about the 2-inch mark. If you want to move the text back towards the left margin, click the Decrease Indent button, and you see that your text is moving back towards the left margin. And now we have set first line indents in this area, hanging indents, left and right indents to our document. In this last paragraph, let's go back into the paragraph dialog box, and we can set negative indentions if we would like. Let's change this to a negative 0.5 indent and click OK. Notice what happens. With a negative indentation, the indentation marker moves outside of the margin. And you can also do a negative indentation by clicking and dragging the marker outside of the margin. So set a negative indentation on the right for this paragraph. And that is working with indentions in your paragraph formatting. The next part of our lesson has to do with setting paragraph alignment, both horizontal and vertical alignment. So let's go to the end of the document, press Control and the End, E-N-D, End key. And now we're at the end of the document. And that's a faster way of getting to the end of the document than just scrolling down. Okay, now we're going to insert a page break here, so let's press Control and Enter, and that'll give us a new page. And let's put in our random text. Let's do equals rand. Oh, and you can turn your caps lock off if it's on. And I'm going to type in 5 paragraphs, so a 5, comma, and let's do 3 sentences per paragraph, and close parentheses. And here you see we have 5 short paragraphs of random text. We're going to look at horizontal paragraph alignment first, and then we will look at vertical alignment. Click anywhere in this first paragraph on page 3 of your document, and let's look at the alignment. So let's go to the Home tab. By default, in Word, text is left aligned. So you see all of these paragraphs are lined up on the left margin, a nice straight line. And then on the right, it's a little more jagged, but it's not lined up nice and straight on the right. To switch to a different alignment, you go to the Home tab, and in the paragraph group you see 4 alignment buttons. The center alignment button centers text equally distant from both margins. The right alignment text, if you look, lines up text on the right but leaves it uneven on the left. And then justified, if you look, lines up the text on the left and the right margins. So let's look at these. Let's make this first paragraph left aligned yet again. The shortcut for left alignment is Control L. And you notice it's back left aligned and the right is uneven. Click on the second paragraph here and let's make it center alignment. The shortcut to center align is Control E. In the next paragraph, let's make it right aligned. Let's do Control R. And notice it's lined up here and jagged on this side. And then next, let's do justified alignment. And the shortcut for it is Control J. And you notice it's lined up on both the left and the right margin. Alright, that is a look at paragraph alignment. You can also change paragraph alignment in the paragraph dialog box in the General section on the Indents and Spacing tab. Okay? Now let's look at vertical alignment. 3, 2, 1. Vertical alignment positions text on the page between the top and the bottom margins. To change vertical alignment, we need to go into the Page Setup dialog box. So to get there, we go to the Page Layout tab and click the Page Setup dialog box launcher. On the Margins tab, you see the options for margins. On the Paper tab, you see options for setting different page sizes and things like that. And then on the Layout tab is where you find places to start a new section, to tell how to treat headers and footers, and then you see the page section, and that is vertical alignment. Let's change the vertical alignment to centered and click OK. By default, Word vertically aligns text at the top of the page. So look here, you see, if I zoom this page down a little bit, you can see even a little better. If it's vertically centered, it is equidistant from the top and the top and the bottom margins. And you see here, our whole document has been vertically centered, and therefore the text starts at the center of the page between the top and bottom margins. Now let's go back into Page Setup, and let's change the make sure you're on the Layout tab, and let's change the vertical alignment to bottom and click OK. And this vertically aligns the text at the bottom of the page. Go back and let's do vertical alignment, and let's do justified and click OK. And you see here that vertical alignment makes the text even between the top and the bottom margins. Now I may have extra spacing after this one, which is why it doesn't seem to be quite evenly distributed with the justified. So let me turn on my formatting marks. And sure enough, see, I've hit enter down here an extra time. If I take that out, that extra enter, then my page is much more evenly distributed with a justified vertical alignment. And that is paragraph alignment. We have the horizontal, which is between the left and the right margins. Horizontal alignment is left, right, centered, and justified. And then we have the vertical alignments, which are top, bottom, centered, and justified. Okay, I'm going to zoom back up here. And I'm going to press Control Home. So press Control and the Home key to go to the beginning of our document. The next paragraph formatting that we're going to learn how to do is adding borders and shading to a paragraph. Borders are just lines or images that are placed around the outside edges of either a block of text or a cell or a page. And then shading is the background color. It's also sometimes called the fill color. So first, let's start with adding shading to our paragraphs. In the first paragraph, let's go to the Home tab. Click anywhere in the first paragraph. Go to the Home tab. And in the paragraph group, you see a paint can button. And if you mouse over it, it says Shading. Click the drop-down arrow beside the shading, and let's add a light purple shading to that paragraph. The other way to add shading to a paragraph is to click the drop-down arrow, and we can customize the shading by going to More Colors. And here you see lots of colors, and we can add custom colors. I kind of like this aqua color here. Let's click in the aqua color. And if I want it lighter, I can click over here and make it lighter. And now I have added a custom shading to the second paragraph. Click in the third paragraph. And let's add a border around this paragraph. The Borders button is right next to the Shading button. Click the drop down arrow and let's tell it to add outside borders. And there we've added a border around our paragraph. Now let's click in this second paragraph and let's add a border around it. Let's go to the Borders drop down arrow and let's add a bottom border. And let's add a top border to this paragraph. Okay. It added it to the top paragraph, so I'm going to undo that. If I want it only to be this paragraph, I need to select this paragraph, triple click on that paragraph, and now let's do top border. And you see that it's added the border to that. So if you want it to only be applied to specific text, make sure you select the text first. A quick way to add both borders and shading or to customize your borders is to use the Borders button dialog box. Click anywhere in the fourth paragraph here and click the Borders button drop down arrow and go to Borders and Shading. And let's add a box border. Make sure it says Apply to Paragraph. And let's do a special customized border. Let's scroll down and choose one of these. And let's change the color to a darker blue. And let's change the point size to 6 points. Make sure it says Apply to Paragraph and then, okay, so we've added the border. Now let's go ahead and at the same time add shading. And so we can choose a fill color and we can even customize the fill color if we want. Let's do a light blue shading. If we want to customize that and go even lighter, we can. And then click OK. And then click OK again. Make sure that says Paragraph before you do. And now we have added borders and shading to a paragraph at the same time. Now if we want to quickly format the next paragraph to look the same as this one, while we are anywhere in this paragraph, let's select the paragraph, click the Format Painter, and then select this paragraph down here. And you see we added, or we made this paragraph to be formatted with all of the same paragraph formatting as this one. It even picked up the hanging indent and other paragraph formatting. Okay, just for review, if we want to make this paragraph right here that we're currently in, if we want to make it left indented again, just click the first line indent marker and line it up there, and then the right line indent, we can pull it into the 1/2 inch, and there we go. We format painted the borders and shading, and then we reset our left and right indents. Okay, so that's a brief look at formatting borders and shading in a Word document. Remember, the border is the text or design that is placed around a block of text, paragraph, or a page. Fill is the background color of a selection of text or a cell or a paragraph. Okay, so we just looked at borders and shading. Now let's look at how to clear paragraph formatting. This paragraph, the top paragraph, scroll up and go to the top paragraph and click anywhere in it. And let's go to the Home tab. And let's choose the Clear Formatting button in the font group. It looks like it's got a little eraser on it. And notice when we choose that button, the shading went away, the bottom border that we had put on it went away, and the first line indent went away. What the Clear Formatting button does is it returns your text formatting back to the default that is already selected in Word, that is pre-selected for you. So clear formatting, let's clear the formatting for this, what is that, the 5th paragraph down here. Let's go to this paragraph. Let's go to Home tab and Clear Formatting button. Now let's look at how to change line spacing in a document. Let's go down to our last page. Let's hit Control End. Control End. Be on the last page in our document. And let's go ahead and change our vertical page alignment back to top. So let's go to the Page Layout and the Page Setup dialog box. On the Layout tab, let's change the vertical alignment back to top and click OK. While we're at it, since we've done a lot of changes to this document, let's go ahead and press Control S and save our changes. Now, line spacing refers to the amount of space between your lines of text. By default, we know that Word's line spacing is 1.15 and that it automatically adds space after paragraphs. To see our default settings, we can go to the Home tab and the Paragraph dialog box launcher, or we're right here on Page Layout already. We can also launch that same dialog box from the Home tab. In the Paragraph group, click the dialog box launcher. And you see our default spacing down here in this area. After, by default, it's adding 10 points of text, and the line spacing is set to multiple at 1.15. Let's change this to single spacing and click OK. Now, in our bottom paragraph, notice and compare. This bottom paragraph is single spaced. Now let's click on the paragraph above the one we just changed to single space, and let's change it using a shortcut. The shortcut for single spacing is Control 1. And notice it changed it to single spacing. Let's change the paragraph above that to double spacing using a shortcut. That is Control and the number 2. Now, single spacing has no blank lines between lines of text. Double spacing adds one blank line between lines of text. We can also have 1.5 line spacing, and that adds a half a blank line between lines of text. Well, so let's press Control and the number 5 in the paragraph above the one we just double spaced. Click, press Control and number 5, and you see that 1.5 spacing has a little less space than double spacing, but a little more space than single spacing down here. Now let's select these paragraphs that we have formatted, and let's go ahead and change the amount of space before and after these paragraphs. Go into the paragraph dialog box, and we can change the spacing before and after. by clicking the spin box arrows. And let's do 6 points of spacing before and 0 points of spacing after, and click OK. And if you were looking, you notice as you made that change, it moved things up just a tad from 10 points to 6 points. So we didn't quite remove it, but we made it less space. I'm going to show you the difference. I'm going to undo here. And you see that it adds a little bit more of that spacing because it was at 10 point. And then I can change it back to, let's change it to 0 points of spacing between paragraphs. Notice the double-spaced paragraph still has the double spacing going on, but no extra spacing is added between the double-spaced paragraph and the single-spaced paragraphs. The single-spaced paragraphs obviously have no space between them. So that is paragraph spacing before and after paragraphs. Now, in the very top paragraph on page 3 of your document, let's customize line and paragraph spacing. Let's go into the paragraph dialog box, and let's change the line spacing to, let's change it to exactly 10 points. And click OK. And notice this really squishes your text together. Now, if we change our font size on this, let's select this paragraph, double click or triple click it. Use your mini toolbar and choose the Grow Font button to 14. Notice that when you do this, you still have the 10-point line spacing, but your characters are bigger. So your line spacing determines how tall your lines of text are going to be. So to fix this, let's change the line spacing of this again. Triple click to select the paragraph. Let's go into the paragraph dialog box and set the line spacing to exactly 14 points and click OK. And notice we can see our text all over again. Now let's hit Control 1 to see the difference between our single space text and then the one that we customize. Let's press Control Z to undo, Control Z, and notice the difference between the single-spaced paragraph and the paragraph that we did the custom line spacing for. Now let's press Control S, or go up here on your Quick Access toolbar and click the Save button to save the changes to our document. And let's go down here in the footer. You can go to Insert, Footer, and do Edit Footer. We're going to add our path and file name. Go to Quick Parts. On the Design tab, click Quick Parts, Field. Scroll down, let's do file name. Let's add the path to the file name and click OK. Save the document again and submit it as your teacher tells you to do so.